So there was this one day where I was learning the solo to Warrant's song called Down Boys. And I love that tune. I always thought the solo was really cool, so I wanted to learn it. And as I was learning it, on the side of the YouTube screen, it gave a recommendation for a live video that they did in 1989, I think, on MTV. And it was a really great video. There was a crowd there. You could tell everybody was actually playing their instruments. Back then, sometimes people would just pretend to play and they would lip sync and stuff like that. But you could tell they were actually playing. And there was this energy to it that I just loved. I was also excited because I thought, okay, I can watch the guitar player do the solo and actually have an easier time learning it that way. But when the solo part came up, I was a little bit baffled because Eric Turner was playing it and it sounded good, but it just didn't have the same energy as the original studio recording. I also noticed that a lot of the parts seemed a little more basic in the live version than in the studio version. So I started to do a little bit of investigating and I found a few YouTube videos that explained it. Even the band admits that they brought in sort of a ringer, a studio musician, a session player to come in and do a lot of the solos back then. So that was really interesting for me to learn that truth. And then I decided to have fun with it. I thought, okay, I'm going to learn the actual solo from the studio version, the Mike Slammer version, but I also want to do the Eric Turner live version that he did in 1989 on MTV. And after I learned both solos, I wanted to make this video and show you the differences between the two solos and what kind of tipped me off. What made the red flags go off in my brain when I watched the live version to tell me I don't think he was the same guy that played the solos on the album. Now, before we get into the 5 phrases of this solo and break it down, I just want to let you know that this video is not to rip on Eric Turner at all. That was not my intention in this video. I just want to point out the differences in their guitar playing levels at the time. And just to let you know, I watched another video of them playing live, and it was a couple of years after the 1989 live version that I saw, and he was already way better at the solo. So you could tell he really practiced, and I think he was really trying to live up to that high bar that Mike Slammer set. So right off the bat in the studio version, there's this wicked bend, and there's a lot of trem bar vibrato. You're gonna hear a lot of that from Mike Slammer. In the live MTV version, Eric does more of a laid back version of that. It just sounds a little bit more careful. It's not necessarily bad, it just isn't as exciting. It doesn't really come out and slap you in the face like Mike's version does. Okay, so for the next phrase, there's an artificial harmonic, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. Here's Mike's version. Hear how intense that got, especially in that climb up. There's a lot of little notes thrown in between those bends. Now that I play the Eric Turner version, you'll really hear the difference when they're missing. See, it just seems like a more basic version, kind of like in Guitar Hero back in the day when you play the hardest version of a song and it was almost impossible to keep up with it. And then you brought it down a few levels and suddenly you could play it. That's how I feel switching between these two different versions. Okay, the next phrase has a lot of red flags in it. So Mike Slammer's version. You notice how you can hear a lot of attack with the pick? There's a lot of raking going on, a lot of staccato. One subtlety is there's a little tiny bend I do with my index finger. Now Eric kind of changes that lick up quite a bit and he goes like this. The next phrase is really interesting. There are a couple big differences, but it starts off pretty much the same. So Mike goes like this. Such a frantic pentatonic lick there. Eric starts out pretty much the same, like I said, but there's a slight difference at the end here. He does a little bend at the end, which I really like. Mike does a bar dive at the end to bring the note down in pitch, but Eric decided to push it up. But then Eric just does this kind of blues scale walk down. So his entire phrase sounds like this. Now for the last phrase. I love the way Mike gives it a more percussive feel like this. Followed by a natural harmonic that just comes out and slaps you in the face. Then the raked staccato climb to the final bend. Now once again, Eric's version's a little more laid back, so he goes into it like this. So I would say the main differences between the two players at the time were that Mike liked to use a lot more staccato rakes. He really attacked the strings and went in with confidence. His vibrato with the trem bar was wide and smooth. And some of the runs, like that pentatonic climb, had a lot more notes to it, so it was a lot more intricate. All those things add up to make a guitar player rise up to that great level, I would say. All right, hopefully that was fun for you guys to watch. I know I had a lot of fun learning both versions of that solo. I've always loved that song, so it was a fun thing for me to do. Okay, everyone, we'll catch you at the next video, and thanks for watching. Okay, bye.